Hello and welcome to this video. My name's David Thorne. This is now the start of my SwiftUI videos, which continues on from the Swift programming language videos. Now I'm certain that all of you already know how to create a SwiftUI project. In the event that you don't know how to create a SwiftUI project using Xcode, I'm going to show you right now. So first of all, you just have to open Xcode. And as you can see, Xcode is already open and I'm running version 15.4. It's the latest version. And you've got then create new project, clone git repository, open existing project. We're on the assumption this is the first project you're going to do, so create new project. In this example, we're just going to select iOS as if you want to create an iPhone app. So let's just go ahead, and you could create multi-platform as well, which is perfectly fine, would suit this case, but let's just say that you want an iOS app. So you just click on this, select application, and then app here, and then next. Next, you just need to tell it what's the name of the actual project. So let's just call it SwiftUI first example. And it's going to ask you for an organization identifier. This is going to be your bundle identifier later. It's going to be kind of important. And what I just do is I just do my domain name backwards. So solution.thorn. And I just put tuts after it. And because you don't want to use up these bundle identifiers, so it's best just to add this like dev or something else on here, and then when you're actually ready to create the actual project you want, then you can use the bundle identifier for your main project and so on. The interface we're going to be using is SwiftUI. We don't want storyboards. That's the legacy way of doing it, shall we say. And language, naturally, we want Swift here. And if we change it to storyboard, you can see we can switch between Objective-C and Swift. We don't want that. We want SwiftUI. And SwiftUI only works with Swift anyway. And storage, we're not going to do right now. If you did want to do Swift data or core data, that's where you could do it. And we don't want to talk about tests today. So, but if you did, then we would just do include tests. And it would just like bootstrap all of the test code as well. So, next. Save where we're going to save it. We're just going to save it to our desktop. We can see it plopping itself down here, and then it opens up the application. All right. Now, what I am going to do is I'm just going to let it loading and finishing and so on. I'm going to close Xcode down. All right, because it's all well and good knowing how to create the project, but I want to show you actually how to start the project as well, because and when it decides to actually close, let's force quit this. Thank you. And it's gone now. All right. So now we can see that we've got my SwiftUI first example project here. And when we go into it, we see a folder here. And this is the actual application folder here. This most important file here that you have. And then you've got this .xcode proj file. And this is the one that you want to always, like, let's say, double click if you want to start your Xcode project, and it'll open like that as well. Now it can be that you have a XC workspace as well. That's something different. It opens the same way, but it's just something different. Okay, but for the time being, just want the Xcode proj here, and this is the main file. So let's close that now. Let's open this up a little bit further, and as we can see here on this side of it, this is where you've got the canvas. So if your canvas is not showing up on both sides here, just come to this little button here, and then you've got canvas, and select canvas, and it will show there. And here we've got this our real-time updates here, and we'll just say real-time, and you can see that it renders in real time. All right. Well, we're not going to go too deep into this. Okay. This is a great thing that SwiftUI brought to the table. So this is where our code actually goes. And if we want to create another view, for example, for this is under our SwiftUI first example folder. This is where I highly recommend doing it. And we can just right click it and say new file, which we want to then select the SwiftUI view here and press next. Or we can then do Command and N. It will open this up as well. Unfortunately, there's no quick shortcut for this one here. So let's just say, look, home view, and we'll just save it into this, and it creates our new home view as well. And now we have our preview here. This is what it's called. Whoops, our preview here showing home view with the text inside of it. And if we want to change the text in here, we can say home view, nice and simple. And we can move these files around as well, nice and easy, and we can order it around. All this data is going to be saved inside the Xcode proj file, all right? And it's going to be a long list of lots of numbers and all sorts of rubbish. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but you'll notice it when you start saving it to Git and so on. So we can also make folders in here, and you can see here, new group without folder. Now, in previous versions of Xcode, it never made the folder. All right, but now when you do it, it makes the folder. And I would advise just, let's just call this features. And I would advise just pressing enter and just giving it a second before you start messing around with the files and so on, because sometimes it can get a little bit, it can just a little bit, yeah, it just doesn't do what you want to do. So let's just test it again, right? And let's close this editor down and see if I can provoke it doing this problem, all right? Provoke doing this bug. So let's just make a new group here and say tester, and it said it did it there. Let's just remove this group, and let's just do a new group again, and we'll do this new group, and that's spelled. Okay, it seems to be a lot better. There were times where you would create the new group, name it, and it would say new group here, and then it would be a bit messed around. Okay, so just be aware with that. All right, so let's just delete these. That's just something I want to point out, that it sometimes has a problem with this. So in the event that you have problems like this, you need to come under this build phases thing. So we tap on up here, all right, and then we want to go to targets and then build phases, and here you'll see compiled sources, and there you'll see all of the relevant files that's going to be compiled within inside of our project. So home view, the SwiftUI first example app, and then the content view, and so on. Here, this is the most important place to look for when you get any bugs and so on. And here's all of your assets, so they're resources, which are assets here. All right, so that's always a good place to have a look. So if the project doesn't compile, there's a high likelihood is that you haven't got automatically managing signing on, and it hasn't got a team added. Now, a team, I'm not going to talk about that, but you're going to have to add a team, and it means maybe I'll do another video about it. So let's just skip over it right now. But this automatically managed sign is going to be a problem in the future, all right? Unless you get this team and stuff sorted out. The other place that is really important for you to understand where it is this info. Now, they used to have the info.plist inside of this folder, but it's not in the project. It's not there anymore. So you can add these things to the file, to this info plist here. All right, but this is for other things that you're going to need, and it might be on an error saying could not find this one key value pair inside the info.plist, and this is where it's talking about. All right. So other than that, when you want rules and stuff like that for the compiler, this is where you're going to find all of these things. So let's just skip back to our content view. Now, when we come back over to the canvas again, and we can see what is actually within inside of our app. Our app is in this file, right? It's where you're going to see this at main here. Now, if you've watched my videos and go all the way back to the first video, we talked about the application entry point. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. In SwiftUI, it has this at main, okay? And it's looking for a struct that implements app, and then you've got this body scene, and you're exporting basically a window group. Now, if you're doing an iOS app or iPhone app and so on, then it only ever supports one window group. But if you're doing Mac OS applications or not iOS, let's just say, then there's possibility that you can add another window group, but that's not what the purpose of this video is right now. So in here, this one shows then a view, okay? So it's all you can see here, it's returning a scene, which is what a window group is. Let's just look at window group here. When you decide to load, you can see here it's a scene where content, the type parameter, the generic type parameter, sorry, conforms to view. All right, so we come back to here and we can see that content view, which is what was inside of our scene, our window group scene, then conforms to view. All right, And this inside of here, once again, if you've watched all of my generics videos and so on, which are a whole bunch of them, and I told you that they're all going to be super important, because on your first lesson of in your first lesson of SwiftUI, Swift, iOS and so on, we're going to start with a super complex thing. We're going to say var body sum view. And this is a generic, this is a opaque generic type. Okay, there we go. Super easy to explain. I only need about 8 or 9 videos to do it, but it's just an opaque type. Right now, all you need to care about is that you return a view. So when you look here at any of the views, as long as it has view here, you can return it in this. That is it, all right? There's a whole bunch more stuff that you need to know about that, but as long as you return at least one view, right? If we come down here now, and we say hello world here too, you'll see it works perfectly fine, right? Because this is very clever. SwiftUI is extremely clever, and this just wraps it in a view in itself. Okay, so the whole point is it doesn't have to return one view, just as long as it returns like a composite of views. And that's the whole point of it. You don't need any commas, you don't need anything like that. You can put lines down here and say if true. You can do all sorts of stuff inside of here, right? And everything will work just perfectly fine. And we can say show me, and this can be Boolean, and it can be false, and this can be then show me here, and it's never going to show this because that is false. Now, as we know, what's most important from learning Swift is that structs are value types, right? Which means that in order to be able to change a struct, you need some mutating form, right? And we know that let creates a constant variable, a constant store property here, right? So we can't change this show me anyway. Now, if we were to change this show me, and it was on a on tap gesture and so on, and we say show me is equal to now true, you're going to see cannot assign to property self is immutable, because we can't mutate this struct, because it cannot be, because we are changing it, all right? So this is something that you're really going to have to learn with inside of SwiftUI, is how this actually works, all right? And I'm going to quickly, very quickly go over how this works, because not many videos they talk about this, but I think this video is the key thing to understand the principle that is going on here, all right? And we're going to do it with a little bit of comments here, all right? And what's going to happen here is that the outer parts, let's get rid of this. Let's go to the app level, okay? This content view, let's come down here, okay? So we're going to have our app, and in essence, right, this app is going to load. This is Swift UI framework in the background now, okay? This is not inside this file. This is in the background now. It's going to load this one Swift UI first example app here, and then it's going to populate any other properties, and we're going to get onto these later, any other property wrappers that are in here. It's going to populate these, it's going to check it, and if it has them, it's going to create them in the beginning, because SwiftUI is going to manage all of these properties here, and you would have seen property bindings already, and let's just say item is equal to false, okay? This state property property wrapper is going to get handled, persisted in the background somewhere by the SwiftUI framework, okay? So when it loads your app, it's going to check, do I have a state, an environment object, or whatever here, and it's going to make sure it sets these properties all the time, and it's going to listen to any basically when it's published any of its items on it. It's going to subscribe to the publisher that's inside of this. Not part of this one video, but it's going to look for changes inside of this. And every single time it creates this one app, it's going to set the properties from before, right? It's going to set them to it, okay? And in this sense, it could have been true. So it's going to retrieve it from some database, and it's going to set it to that one variable that it was, all right? And then what's going to happen here is it's going to then get the body. It's going to say app.body, and that is going to render this one view. And then it's going to pass this scene or this view onto the rendering to be rendered. And then this app here, this app struct, is just going to get deleted. Gone. We don't care about it anymore. It's rendered that one view or that one scene, or that one window. Boom, you're gone. I don't care about you anymore, right? And the rest of the SwiftUI framework is going to handle all of the states. And when one of these items in here changes its state or it updates, this whole process is going to start again, right? It's just going to start over and over again. So your struct, the second that your body computed property closes, it hits that last there and it's gone, boom, this struct is dead, right? And when it comes inside this content view, and the second that this body computed property finishes and it returns here, right? This one content view is dead. It's gone. It's been disposed of. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so don't think for a second that this app is going to stay in memory. It doesn't stay in memory at all. That's why it's a struct. It's easy. It just can be created. It can be checked. They can generate the scene or the view that it needs to be shown of. It can pass that over to the SwiftUI framework to be rendered, to be put on the screen, and then they handle any other events and so on ready. And when that screen changes, that's when this whole process starts again. So views are cheap. Okay, they are cheap. You create as many as you want. So this is the whole point I want to be able to talk to you in this one video, is that we can create our views, and they should be composite views, right? So if you've got a big view and you can split it down into small pieces, you should be creating as many views as possible. And really, like a rule of thumb, is that this is probably about the biggest that your view should be. Let's zoom in a little bit. This is maybe like this. This is about the biggest that your view should be, around about like 50 lines of code, okay? And if it gets bigger than 50, you need to start thinking about removing some of this, extracting some of this into its subviews and passing this data on. But this is what all these videos are going to be about, all right? So don't panic. This is just the first video, and we're going to be going through exactly how you can create these views, how the state works, how Swift handles these things, okay? If you want to just learn how to create an app and you don't want to care about the intricacies behind all of this, these are not the videos for you, all right? These are not the videos for you, because it's probably going to take me 20 videos to explain something someone else explains in 3 minutes, all right? But that's just because you want to be able to copy and paste code and put it in your project and not fully understand, which is perfectly okay, right? But my ways of doing this is that you understand it in the background, you understand exactly what it's doing, why it's doing, when it's doing, and you can explain it to someone else as well. These videos are teaching videos. These aren't teaching you how to be a Swift developer. They are teaching you how to be a Swift teacher. All right, I'm teaching you to teach. I'm teaching you to be a lead developer. I'm teaching you to be a senior developer. This is the whole point, so you can help other developers learn too. All right. With that said, this was just the first video of the SwiftUI videos in this playlist. I hope you've got something out of this one video. I hope you're looking forward to the next videos and so on. We will be keeping the complexity level very, very high. So we are not going to go down to super basic stuff. I'm going to assume that you can learn this basic stuff on the side by reading the documentation, but we're going to try and keep it as technical as possible and as a high level as possible all the time, so you're always learning intricate details of the Swift programming language and SwiftUI. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, feedback or concerns, do not hesitate to start a conversation in the comment section down below. My name's David Thorne, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.